Let's talk home buying. 38 years old, that's the age house hunters across the UK expect to be when they buy their first home. In London, that age rises to 43. That's according to research by the comparison website moneysupermarket.com, and of the people they spoke to, 13% said they don't intend buying a property at all. Are we still obsessed with actually owning a property? What is wrong with renting? Call me 0500 909 693, text 85058, or you can email livesey@bbc.co.uk. In a moment we'll be hearing from two property experts, but first here's Jenny Colshaw doing what she does best from 5 Live Money with a money minute on the housing market.
The UK housing market doesn't have a reputation as a smooth ride. There have been 4 significant booms and busts since the 1970s. At the moment, the main issue around the property market is that first-time buyers are struggling to get on the ladder. According to moneysupermarket.com, the average deposit needed by a new buyer is 23%. This perhaps explains why house hunters in the same survey estimated that they won't be able to buy till they're 38. For anyone who does want to buy, there is a bit of somewhat encouraging news. The lender Nationwide describes house prices over the last 6 months as static, and the Land Registry, which looks at completed sales in England and Wales, says prices have fallen by just over 2% in the last year. Also, the number of mortgages where only a 10% deposit is required is increasing. Some say it's sensible to buy if you can. Others say it's a gamble. 5% of those surveyed by Money Supermarket seem to have a foot in both camps. They're relying on the lottery to pay for their deposit.
Thank you, Jenny. Jonathan Davis is a property expert from Jonathan Davis Wealth Management, and Tim Hammond is the Chief Executive of the Home Buyer Centre. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Adil.
Hello, Tim.
Good evening.
Jonathan, I'll come to you first then. Are we obsessed with owning a property then in this country?
No, we're not. It's a myth that we are. I'm looking at a chart right now of from the European Commission's Statistics Office, which shows for the 27 EU countries that actually 7 or 8 of them have got a higher owner occupation than the United Kingdom. It's a myth that people in the UK are particularly obsessed about property.
Tim, you're obviously going to endorse home buying then. Is it a good time to buy property at the moment?
I think it depends if you're looking to buy a home or an investment. The thing about the market at the moment is there's a complete lack of confidence in house prices, so there are opportunities as well as risks.
This idea that we're obsessed then with buying, what is the problem with renting then? Renting seems to suit a lot of people, and it seems to be at times like this when you hear about property prices, renting just seems to be the right thing to do. Isn't that the right thing to do right now?
I think it's definitely the right time to rent in your life if you obviously can't get a mortgage or deposit together, and it suits a lot of people to rent at this stage where prices are very volatile. But there comes a time in life when you perhaps want to settle down, raise a family, and you don't want to be renting for the whole of your life.
And Jonathan, what would you say? Are you better off becoming a homeowner or being a tenant at the moment?
Yeah. Financially, it's been wholly imprudent to take on a vast debt and apparently buy a property in the last 5 years, because the vast bulk of people who have done so have taken on interest-only mortgage debt. Thus, they haven't paid off any of the debt in the last 5 years, and house prices are lower than they were 5 years ago. And the other chap there, Tim, is saying about renting for all your life. No one's talking about renting for all your life. It's just imprudent financially, currently and for the foreseeable future, to buy property. And one other point, you and your colleagues were talking about earlier, are you a homeowner and all this? The people are not homeowners when you've got 80% mortgage. You're not a homeowner. What you are is a borrower, and you've got 20% or 10% or 30%.
But it's getting on that property ladder, isn't it? And you accumulate it. It's getting on the property ladder. I know we all have mortgages to pay, and we're borrowing, but it's getting on that property ladder, isn't it?
It's not a ladder, it's a snake. It's only financially prudent, whether it's an investment or indeed as a home, it's only financially prudent to take on a debt if house prices are rising long term. Well, I'm telling you, house prices are falling long term. They have been since 2007. According to the Halifax, there hasn't been a year of house prices increases since 2007, and indeed this year will be another year of flat or probably falling. I'm saying 10% fall. It is not prudent financially to buy now.
Jenny, Five Money, you want to come in here?
Yeah, I've got a couple of points there. You talked about 5 years, Jonathan, but you don't make any investment for 5 years, really, do you? You wouldn't expect a return on the stock market in 5 years. If you're buying a house, you're looking at longer than that. We've been lucky, haven't we? The people that doubled their house value in the sort of late 90s, they were just lucky, weren't they?
In the 90s and the first half of the 2000s, interest rates were slashed. Lending was made freely available because of the corrupt banking system. Thus, and also buy-to-let went through the stratosphere. Thus, you had a virtuous spiral for house prices. But all of those are gone by the wayside now. We now have a vicious spiral for house prices. They're on the way down. They've been down for the last few years. As far as I'm concerned, they will be down for the long term.
Tim, what do you think long-term house prices? I mean, we don't expect them to boom like they did, 8-10 years ago, but do you not think they're going to go up?
Can I answer that one?
Yeah, no, that's for you, Tim.
Absolutely. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball here. Jonathan, and I respect his views, believes the prices are going to go down. We're in a moment of chaos in the market where the confidence is so low that no one knows what house prices are, and actually it becomes a very good buying opportunity for first-time buyers, because people further up the ladder have to move. If they have a growing family, they need a bigger house, they are forced to sell the house that they bought as a first-time buyer. So as a first-time buyer in today's market, you should be able to negotiate a fairly good discount off the asking price.
I mean, you say that, but let's say, first of all, people need to generate their deposit, right? And then they get enticed with, at the moment, you've got low interest rates. But doesn't the problem come in about 5 years' time when interest rates go up? And people will be in a situation, they may well have forked out and found this deposit, but they find themselves, they can't make their payments because the interest rates have gone up. And that will happen inevitably, won't it?
We're talking about affordability here, and I think the rental market and the current market is more expensive in the majority of the UK than having a mortgage. Now, obviously, as interest rates go up, that will counterbalance, and it is all about supply and demand. A lot of people are forced to rent, so the rental prices are going up because there's more demand from first-time buyers, otherwise first-time buyers, to rent. Now, as the interest rates go up and the demand there actually then balances off, I think you're going to find a very similar cost to renting as mortgage. So it's all about affordability.
No.
The big challenge is getting the deposit together.
No. It's incredibly sanguine what Tim has just said there. If you're a first-time buyer and you somehow get yourself a 20% deposit, say, and you take out, particularly if it's in the southern half of the country, you take out £160,000 of debt based on, say, 3 or 4 or 5% interest rate, I tell you, within a few years, we're going to have normalised interest rates in the UK, which means the variable mortgage rate is not going to be 3, 4 or 5, it's going to be 6, 7 or 8, which means whatever you're paying now, you're going to double what you pay in a few years' time. And that is going to reflect in the housing market, which means that your £200,000 house is going to be much less than what you owe on it.
Okay.
We're talking about a 30-year
hold on,
not a
guys.
5-year plan.
Okay, Jonathan, hold on. Jenny, come in very quickly. Then we're
Well,
going to
just
speak to
Jonathan,
Andrew
do
in
you
Brentford.
truly believe that there's going to be that big a problem over the next 5 years or so, that there'll be so many people that can't afford their mortgage repayments because they've taken out a loan now when base rate's low?
Do I truly believe it? Well, I mean, what an astounding intonation in the question. Lloyds are telling us they've got 150,000 on their books, which are in negative equity, and that's just one bank, and that's with the lowest interest rates in 400 years of the Bank of England. Now, in a few years' time, we know inflation is higher than it ought to be, or they're targeting. We know what's going to happen to interest rates. Yes, I truly believe that we're in shtuck. And one final comment, quite simply, if and when they raise interest rates, and they do so inexorably because of inflation, we're toast. And if they don't raise interest rates, it's because we're toast. The housing market is toast.
That I think what Jonathan's talking about is a 5-year problem, not a lifetime problem.
All right, Tim, well, hold on one second. Let's speak to Andrew in Brentford. We've heard from the experts. I want to hear from either tenants or homeowners. Andrew, are you a tenant or a homeowner?
I'm tenant at the moment.
And what's your point? Where do you sit on this?
My view is if you're paying your landlord £1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom flat, it's dead money. And if you invested that money in a mortgage on a repayment basis, not interest only, and I think most people go for repayment, despite what the expert says, that you are better off in the long term. But we're not talking about 3 or 4 years. That's not long term. 2007 to 2011 is not long term. Long term is 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And yes, we've got a lot of struggles and the house prices might drop, but in the long term, people who own their property and who are paying it off on a regular basis will be better off than people who are paying money to a landlord. The only person who profits out of paying money to a landlord is the landlord.
Andrew, why are you renting at the moment? So it's just a choice at the moment?
Well, it's a bit of an awkward situation. I'm not technically renting. My wife has the mortgage, not
right.
me.
Okay, fine.
But we are far happier with the mortgage than we would be if we were renting privately.
Okay, Andrew, thanks very much. Jonathan and Tim, thank you. I want to hear from you. Is renting or buying better? How is it for you? Text us 85058. You can call 0500 909 693. What's working out best for you? There's also that society issue, isn't there? Isn't the whole thing about having a house and having it your own, doing it how you want it? Text 85058.